Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Hello, people out there in wrestling land. How are y'all doing tonight, today, or whatever time you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast on your Roku, Jared Parsons Wrestling TV?
Yeah, man, we always like to plug it right out of the gate, right? Jarrett Parsons Wrestling Television on your Roku streaming devices. We are proud to be a part of that team. They are on absolute fire, man, and numbers are great. So it's like I said, we're happy to be a part of the team and look forward to some new exciting things working for them. Make sure you get your Roku device coming soon to the Amazon Fire Stick. So I mean, can't really beat that. It's a great free streaming
Extremely
service.
free, great wrestling, and us, your favorite podcast, your video cast. We're transcending all media in wrestling.
We're trying to do our part, right? We're trying to be everywhere all at
You
once.
can even get physical media and get your Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Yeah, man, that's a big one. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com. I know you're wearing the Tap That Tee. I've got on the Wrestling is Like Women shirt that's available on ProWrestlingTees.com/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Buy a shirt, man. Support the show. And of course, hey, our favorite one, if you really want to support the show, head over to Patreon.com/Tapped Out Pod. Sign up. You get things kind of like, we do some interview stuff early, which, yes, we're getting fired back up on the interviews here shortly. But you can also get the show prep, which today's was an hour and a half.
Yes.
It gives you an example of how long we put in time on the show. Show prep's longer than the show.
A lot of it was us mumbling about shit, but it's a great extra feature for anyone who wants to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah, man. And but hey, we wanted to get started. Let's get started on this week's show. We wanted to do something a little bit different, but it's something different up until this point. Going forward, I kind of want to do this every week. I want to give us some shout out to it's going to be listeners, viewers, followers, kind of whatever you want to do. So I've just kind of handpicked some from Facebook, from Twitter, from all over the board. But I want to give some shout outs, so like I said, to some fans who take the time to, they not only follow us or they retweet our stuff or they like our stuff, they share our stuff, etc.
I'm sorry, Nick, I'm crooked and it's driving me crazy.
It's what Myron's kind of saying is people go, what do you mean he's crooked? He's crooked because he's on his video camera. But
yeah, my camera was mounted crooked. It was driving me crazy. I hate to interrupt. Okay, I'm fixed now. Back to business.
So what we had here is like I said, I want to give some special shout outs to some special fans who really interacted with us. I want to start with Sarah Brownlee out of Anderson, South Carolina. Thanks for
lovely place. I have no friends there.
Kelly Kallstrom from British Columbia, one of our Canadian followers and friends. Shout out.
I know Lewis is from that area.
Yeah, Lewis probably this guy when he was on here probably got Kelly hooked and been a fan ever since. Sam Ryder is what we were going to go with from Newport Richey, Florida. That's actually not too far from my old stomping grounds when I was a kid, growing up in Fort Pierce.
Yep.
Michael Stewart Jones from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, a great place for wrestling.
It's a hotbed back in the heyday, right?
Yes.
And then last but not least, I want to give a special shout out to our buddy RJ, man. RJ from the Ringside Rant. He's a big follower, obviously, on Twitter. He's been around for a long time. He's been more than that. He's been an interactive back and forth. By the way, happy belated birthday. It's been
happy birthday.
But he's kind of back doing his thing with interviews on the Ringside Rant. We wish him nothing but the best of luck. This week he had Bruce Mitchell on.
Bruce Mitchell.
Yeah, from Pro Wrestling Torch.
Nice.
Yeah, so kudos to RJ.
Good job.
So much love to RJ. Anyway, like I said,
and thanks for everything you do for us, man. You're always the first one to share something.
Yeah, first retweet, first like, first share, all that good stuff. But we wanted to kind of start something that a new little plug for fans who are interactive and kind of involved and kind of go around. We just thought that would be kind of a cool thing. But man, let's kick off the show with the topic that last week we discussed something and some people gave some feedback, and I wanted to address it before we got to the meat of the show.
Yes.
So that feedback obviously came from a few places. At Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tappedoutpod@gmail.com is the email, so you email it there. So couple places, we got a lot of it from those places. I got a lot of DMs and stuff that were kind of
Yeah.
saying things like, Jon Moxley was on Talk is Jericho, and he also has since been on Wade Keller's show on Pro Wrestling Torch. But I kind of made a comment about, I don't know where it was on Twitter or whatever, but I just kind of said to the point that it's easily to be the artist with the who wants to take the moral high ground, or not necessarily the moral high ground, but the artistic integrity, stance. And I just kind of made the comment, it's kind of easy to be that guy when you spent the better part of a decade taking the evil empire's money to pay off your house, pay off your mom's house, pay off your car, and be financially stable enough. And the kudos, by the way, kudos for saving his money. All wrestlers should, right?
They should invest with women of the world.
Well, hey, I've joke about it, on the side. I mean, it is what it is. I do investments, and that kind of stuff on the side for my day job, and I do tell people. I mean, if wrestlers they want to, call me. My number is 678-300-8501. I'll be more than happy to help you start putting some financial stuff together for long term, and clearly, like Jon Moxley did. So
You could be the next Jon Moxley.
well, Jon Moxley's put his money he saved away so he could take the the artistic integrity stance and go to AEW, which I commend all of that. But I just kind of made the comment of, had it been years ago and he was the starving artist, it's a little harder to turn down that money. And because let's be blunt, let me ask you, Byron, if he was the starving artist back he wasn't, would AEW be interested in him like they are right now?
No, WWE made him. Okay, they put him over. I mean, I've seen matches he did, but on the Indies before WWE with like some fat guy was rubbing a sawzall on his head, and like that weed eater and light tube shit. Okay, yeah, that guy right there. That guy couldn't pick and choose his creative. Okay,
Right. And
when you're
so
on a hot dog and a handshake budget, picking your creative is not as readily available.
now, is he right about WWE Creative and all of the things he said? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm just saying it's easy to take that stance when you've made millions from that company,
Yeah.
and you can sit back and say, like, hey, I'm going to make that stand. There's no knock in any of that statement, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, hey, let us know. But at Tap Top Pod,
It's like I wouldn't knock my employer online because it would hurt my job. That's the way it works in the business place. You start seeing these people knock them online. Like, look at Sasha right now. Where is she?
she's coming back.
She might come back. And the thing is, there's been other talent able to shine in Sasha's absence. So
That is true.
you lose. You snooze, you lose your spot, man. It's like the old days. You get injured, you lose your
Yeah.
spot.
At the end of the day, my only point was, plenty of people want to leave their job. People aren't happy with their jobs, and it's easy to say, like, I'll go, for the integrity or my happiness or whatever, I'm going to move on. If you've saved a ton of money and you've got a savings account and you have another job lined up and you've already you're
Or
good.
You're just like a Facebook poster saying, like, you should quit. You're like, no, you don't live here.
Right.
You're 100% right. I agree with everything you're saying. It is a lot easier when you're in that position.
Okay, well, let's move on. That I didn't want to spend a ton of time on that. I just wanted to address that because I'd gotten so much feedback on it. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was Bleacher Report did an article that we both found fascinating. It was weird because we both saw it.
I enjoyed it because it actually hit on what is wrestling, what is you, and this what you're going to read, or what we're going to talk about, is what was the Attitude Era when wrestling hit the big peak on television.
And what he's talking about is the article on Bleacher Report was how the red hot AEW can keep momentum ahead of Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. Because, obviously we just came off of the red hot Double or Nothing, great show they put on. But how do they continue that? Because let's be blunt, we've had this conversation. That's going to be the challenge, is the weekend and the week out. Once they get to TV, it's going to be worse. But even doing a monthly show, that's going to be the challenge. It's not planning a show 3 months from now, 4 months from now. It's going to be, on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
the first one, Cody gives full credit to hearing something from Eric Bischoff, and it was called Providing the Buffet.
And Eric was the best at this, in my opinion.
Yeah, back in WCW, you had the cruiserweights, you had the main event guys, you had just a little bit of everything.
They featured Lucha so predominantly, and it was good. It was a great program. I would flip back and forth, and I'd like to see the fact that you could see all kind of different wrestling on the old WCW programs, and I agree with this.
Yeah.
And they're doing that. They are doing that. They've got everything from women's matches to gimmick matches to comedy stuff, which, Cornette really shit all over the Battle Royal. And I kind of disagree with him on some of the stuff because it's a Battle Royal and it was free. Nobody had to pay for it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of guys that have different gimmicks. And, WWE's done the gimmick Battle Royals before. It was a Battle Royals where you can get that kind of stuff out. Like Cornette had good points, but on the whole, I didn't agree with him on everything about it. But they were giving you had a goofy Battle Royal to start with. And before long, you ran into the next topic.
Hey, can I ask you a silly question, sidebar? Yeah. Because of the high stakes of that Battle Royal, should that Battle Royal have been on the show and one of those tag matches or something been on the pre-show?
That's a tough one because I think that Battle Royal was geared exactly at their fans, and that Battle Royal would convince their fans, not new fans. Okay, new fans aren't going to pay $50 for a non-existent product, but their fans would, and I think that Battle Royal was in the right place to attract the AEW indie rific type fans. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I just thought maybe, because your winner was going to be facing your winner of another match to basically be your first world champion. I was kind of like,
I think it worked out well. I think it was in the right spot. And it was not seriously, it was not aimed at getting Cornette to buy the pay-per-view.
Well, yeah, obviously.
It was not aimed at getting me to buy the pay-per-view.
Can I tell you my second pet peeve? I triggered another one, then I don't mean to interrupt you here.
Go ahead.
I'm also tired of world champion, and I'm also tired of heavyweight champion as terminology for belts. World champions from promotions, if they don't travel the world, like indie promotions that have a world champion.
Yes.
Okay, you don't travel the world.
Yeah.
Second of all, heavyweight champions, when they're champion, and this is not a knock on anybody, so nobody get their panties in a wad, when your champion's 175 pounds.
Well, in order to have a heavyweight championship, you'd have to have weight classes.
But that's what they are.
You have other championships because you say that.
Well, you have WWE heavyweight champion, or whatever. You're kind of like, but you had a guy who was 185 pounds. He's not a heavyweight.
Well, Lawler was the light heavyweight champion for a long time. It's just, we don't have weight classes really. You wrestle on a completely different show,
right?
Or you just heavyweight. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary either.
Like, I think everything should be like it's the WWE champion, which they do. I think that's what they do now. The Universal champion, hate the title, whatever, but yeah. But like
world champion, WWE, I could give them world champion.
Yes, you could. But I'm saying it should be the Ring of Honor champion, or it should be the MLW champion. Now they have weight classes, so I take that back. I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth. They actually have weight classes in MLW, so they can have open weights and heavy weights and et cetera, et cetera. I just think at some point, shouldn't you, if you have a heavyweight title, shouldn't you have to be a heavyweight to challenge for that title?
Technically, yeah.
Anyway, so I digress. I had this conversation with Gary.
Nothing makes sense in wrestling.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Gary about they have the Southern Honor champion. It's not the Southern Honor heavyweight champion because it's not a weight class. It's the Southern Honor. So anyway, so you said that triggered me to make me say that's a pet peeve.
That's cool. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, but then like you were saying, they have the silly stuff. They have the women. They have the hardcore. All this stuff is kind of thrown in there. The big one I think is emotion, like the storyline part, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Lean on emotion was the second.
The only thing I did want to talk about, just for quick here, I want to throw in there too, is the silly stuff, like you said. I mean, there've been multiple rants about does Joey Ryan have a place in wrestling, on and on and on. I mean, Janela, Joey Janela, of course, Orange Cassidy was the big one that we've had recently.
That's been a tough one. That's been a tough one because he does his stuff in the ring. I know Joey and them do their stuff, but their stuff is a gimmick. That's how he wrestles, is that gimmick. So
Yeah. But the fan of like, oh my God, this is so great, but then you want to crap on. I think the stuff that they're doing with the 24/7, like with R-Truth, it's hysterical.
that's awesome stuff. Like I said, I'm on my break from WWE content, folks. Have not watched anything again this week. Didn't even watch NXT Takeover because I was actually at a wonderful live show. We'll talk about that later. But I would, if I were to watch anything, the two things that you told me about on Raw last night that I would want to watch: Brock beating Seth down, and the 24/7 championship stuff. I think those were cool things to hear about.
Yeah.
That's just me. I mean, that's the things I would want to see out of all that.
So, and like I said, I'm like you. I would lean more like away from some of that. But if you're giving them the buffet, give them a little bit of everything. But
100% when you put it that way.
yeah, but I think the core of it, what we just said, I think you need to lean on emotion. I mean, hands down, my opinion, the best match they had on that card was Cody Dustin. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, probably match of the year for everyone.
Storylines, emotion, that's what happens. And I think at the core of it, that's where you have to go to pull more and more people in. It's storytelling.
Yeah, you're going to pull in your classic fans with that. That's the kind of stuff guys like me and you want to see. That's the kind of stuff guys like, we'll just keep using Cornette. Cornette wants to see. You make people believe what you're doing is real. It's easier for people to suspend disbelief, which is the big thing. You know, if you get those people to believe it's real and feel about it, and they can tell real emotion. That's why I think the women's division in WB has been so much stronger than the men for so long, is they show more emotion and they get like legitimate reactions out of them. So I think this is good. I think this is really good idea.
And they just, a lot of that talent that they kind of showcased and threw out there on Double or Nothing. I think they're getting there. Obviously, that was the whole point of you get to Paige and you get to Jericho and you get to, Kenny will obviously feud with Moxley. I mean, that's plain as day, right? So forth on and so forth. Cody and Dustin are going to wrestle the Bucks, so forth and so on. But the challenge that one of the things we discussed a little bit about AEW was you are top heavy.
Extremely.
So you can't rely on how many mixed match pieces can you slide Moxley, Omega, Cody, and Jericho around. There's only so many matches, especially when you get to 52 weeks, a year that you're putting on a television show.
You're definitely going to wind up with something like what they complain about with WWE,
which is
have the same talent doing the same things every week.
Which is why the next piece of this puzzle was, uncovering and making new, young talent.
Yes.
It was such a key. The names that were on this list for this article, by the way, were Orange Cassidy, who we've already expressed really isn't my cup of tea, but hey, if you like him, thumbs up, cool. Kylie Ray from the women's division.
Big find.
Luchasaurus, who could be a big man once the mask is gone.
No, he's still a big man. It's just a mask. It's no different than.
But I mean, credible star down the road.
Okay. Oh, a big man. Yeah.
Yeah. Joey Janela, who doesn't work for me at all. But hey, if they think that that's somebody that they can make a star, they're going a different direction, which we'll talk about in a second.
You look at the guy that they're bringing on for, and I don't know how they do it, if he still works for. I don't know if does Darby Allin still work for Evolve?
I think so. Maybe
he's facing Cody at that
Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest.
I think so. Yeah. So
Darby Allin featured prominently on the new show on the Viceland network. It's just called The Wrestlers. Lots of folks from the Atlanta area were on there. People I recognize, people I've talked to, people I've had on the show were on that. It's so awesome. It's their new series following up on Dark Side of the Ring.
Yep.
And it's about indie wrestling, folks. Go out and watch this stuff. If you're not watching this stuff, you're missing out if you're an indie wrestling fan. It's terrific.
But Darby Allin, like you said, I think could be another one down the road that they could make. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we all, I think, as across the board, I'm not saying we all agree because there's going to be other people. By the way, I don't put Page in this category. Hangman Page I put as already kind of up there in that next echelon.
But you have to introduce him to the American audience, just for the most part.
But the man that's the young stud that I think they're going to have, and they're going to have the faith. This is going to be the reverse challenge. The guy that someday could chase the big contract and leave AEW for WWE is MJF.
Yes. MJF is a Ronnie Garvin-esque, a smaller heel, but he talks. He's not small. He's just not as big as, your monster guy.
He's such an ass.
And he's a believable ass. That's the thing about him. He's a totally believable ass. You hate that guy because we all know that guy. Okay. He is the rich kid or the spoiled kid, or it's a great gimmick. And he probably is an ass in real life. Yeah. I saw where he, got into it with a kid at a signing or something.
Yeah. Well, the only way I think they make these guys is step 4 is to stay bold, push the envelope. Everybody complains about the PG era in WWE. Then they've got to go to the other extreme and just, make a statement, make everything bold, attitudinal era kind of stuff. But that's, I'm totally.
They're going to have to push the boundaries. They're going to have to really get there, and they're going to have to do the most they can do on TV. Are they going to be able to do the cigarette bit with Joe Janela on TNT? And
Probably not. Probably not. I don't know.
Okay. A lot of that stuff they did on that show, can they do it in prime time? No.
Well,
but they can try.
Well, here's the thing. We discussed this off air. They're a wrestling company. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about being able to do things on TNT and do, I think the answer to, because everybody kept saying like, oh, I want to see what the answer that WWE has for Double or Nothing. I think you saw it Saturday. I think it was called TakeOver.
Mm-hmm.
Because TakeOver is wrestling. All Elite Wrestling is wrestling.
Yes.
WWE is entertainment. It's two different products. I think you're comparing apples to oranges, in my personal opinion.
Yes, you're 100% right.
But that's just me.
It's the biggest T-shirt company, for lack of a better, what they said about AEW. WWE exists to sell merchandise.
Oh yeah,
and network subscriptions. It's not.
It's not a wrestling company.
It's not a wrestling company, and they took wrestling out. They don't even want you. WWE. They don't want you to say World Wrestling Entertainment. It's not their thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's an entertaining product. Watch it for entertainment value. You'll see a good match occasionally.
Well, let's be blunt. This week the ratings showed that there were more people watching this week. So I did want to plug that out a little bit. Very interesting numbers, by the way. I read these during the show prep, and you're kind of like, well, that's odd.
That way.
Average 2.405 million, 2.308 the first hour. Pay attention here. 2.558 the second hour, and 2.349 million the last hour. The key to this was the second hour went up, and then the third hour fell, but it didn't actually fall below hour 1.
See, that doesn't happen.
That's not normal. And the only reason I'm mentioning this real quick, I'm not hanging on this. I wanted to point out something that we've been saying for weeks. They closed the show with The Undertaker. You're correct. Mm-hmm. So, as much as people said they don't want to see Goldberg and they don't want to see, Taker versus Goldberg, 300,000 more people this week watched the last hour than they did last week. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's because Taker was there. And, some people were like, the second hour was because they teased that Brock was going to cash in, which we're going to discuss in a second. And full disclosure, we're recording this before SmackDown. Yeah. So Goldberg will probably do the exact same thing for SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that's how it works. And people want to see that stuff. I don't care what you say. You can watch all your orange Cassidy guy do that stuff all you want to, but the mainstream wrestling product, the people who are on wrestling Twitter, you know why they're not on wrestling Twitter? Because they're just people. You know, they don't eat, breathe, and sleep it. They got a kid that likes it.
Oh, if they're on Twitter, they follow John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. I mean,
There you go. They don't follow hateful buttholes that all they want to do is post hateful stuff about wrestling.
right. So,
And they're not the people that WWE is. You know, that's the people they want. It's not the people that are sitting over here watching AEW.
and they're not following podcasts and news sites,
Exactly.
and
Nobody. I mean, when you consider if 3 million people watch Raw or 2 million people watch Raw, imagine a podcast getting 2 million downloads a week on wrestling. And I know podcasts get downloads, but lots of downloads on maybe other topics. But a wrestling podcast doing 2 million downloads a week would be insane. It's wrestling, folks. It doesn't appeal to everyone. My mother never liked it. My brother never liked it. My girlfriend doesn't like it. My daughter doesn't like it. It does not appeal to everyone. But let's just appreciate that it appeals to us and we enjoy it.
and another one of those, like we teased that hour two was up as well because of the Brock tease. Another thing that's a lot of people are just, oh, this Brock storyline with Money in the Bank, it's stupid, it doesn't make any sense, blah blah blah. Well, first of all, what's your favorite saying if it doesn't make sense?
It's wrestling.
Okay. We were just discussing that this weekend, and it's
Wrestling's not supposed to make sense.
well, if it doesn't make sense, just remember it's wrestling.
Yeah. Folks, I mean, seriously, what do you want out of wrestling? What do you want out of the Avengers movie? What do you want out of a comic book? What do you want out of a video game? I mean, find what you like. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Well,
But you can't just sit and like overanalyze every little bit. Pac-Man's just Pac-Man.
do you remember we were talking and everybody's saying about this, the Brock party was stupid, him dancing with the big box or whatever. And so we were at a show this weekend, which we'll discuss later, obviously. But Gary Lamb, Southern Honor Wrestling promoter, was there. We were all talking, and he was talking about how much his kid just loved the Brock party. Had a suitcase on his shoulder, carrying around a briefcase later, doing the full the Brock party thing. It's everything. This goes back to what we said. This was geared for an audience. WWE was trying to give you the buffet because they gave you a Ricochet and Cesaro match. They gave you, some comedy. You may not have liked it, the 24-hour, the 24/7 R-Truth stuff, and then they give you something else. First and foremost, I want to talk about this week's stuff with Brock. A lot of people was like, well, why didn't he cash in? I'll tell you why he didn't cash in. Heyman teased, obviously. Heyman outright said he was going to cash in versus Seth Rollins. That was on Twitter. They put it out there. What Brock Lesnar did instead was the heel Brock Lesnar beat the stuffing out of Seth Rollins with a chair, Germans, F5s, all over the place, like a heel should.
Yes. Heels are bad guys. Bad guys are supposed to be mean to people. It's not an athletic competition. It's entertainment. It's a story. And this, to me, is the most dead-on storyline they've got going. And, I think it might even be because maybe Heyman's got a hand in this.
Can we tell you what something else, Myron?
What's that?
They should be thankful it's not an athletic event, or Brock Lesnar could be killing them.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
There's that.
The dude's, he's legit badass. Because, you said he beat Seth, but you can believe he could come out there and beat Seth Rollins like that. If Seth Rollins beat Brock up like that, it's not believable. Okay?
Right.
If the two of them got into a legitimate fight, Brock would maul him.
Yeah.
It would be horrible.
The follow-up to that is everybody wanted to knock the fact, well, why didn't Brock cash in? That would just make no sense because Heyman tried to get him to cash in, and he said no. Do you know why sometimes? Sometimes the bully doesn't take your lunch money when he beats you up. He just wants you to be fully aware he could take your lunch money if he wanted to.
Establishing dominance.
And so Brock Lesnar may be on the precipice of being the schoolyard bully, just letting Seth Rollins know weekly, I could take your title absolutely anytime I want to. I'm just choosing not to right now because guess what bullies get off on? Power.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he makes you anticipate, and he makes you continue to tune back in, and they draw you in, and they write a good storyline. Because
Bullies.
the logical thing in any when he had Seth beaten down, you'd assume he would just cash in and take it right there. That's the way. If it was real world, if this was the NFL, that's the way that would have happened. If you had him on the ropes, you'd have went for two on the guy. But no, it's wrestling. It's supposed to be it's high drama, and that's why I enjoy the Southern Fried Show so much. It's because they do the drama. Paul Heyman does the drama.
Right. Well,
everything Paul Heyman touches these days turns to gold in WWE.
The bully feeds on fear.
Yep.
And so the bully is making you just be scared in your pants that at any time you even remotely or near, he could cash in and beat you.
Yep.
If I was it's like one of those, like, if you're the Universal Champion or the World WWE Champion, why would you ever want to get in a ring? He does have to beat you in a ring.
Yeah.
Like, I'll cut my promos in the back.
Yeah, I'd walk around on eggshells. And they're going to do this. It's going to be psychological. Now, this may all end Friday.
Well, he has threatened. Yes, Brock, they have said that he's going to cash in, now. And he's said this for weeks now, that he's cashing in. Think about it. Every week he just continues to say, I'm cashing in at the X next event, whatever next event is. I got one for you.
What?
How would you like to really play mind games? Brock cashes in at Kofi after him and Dolph Ziggler's match. He doesn't cash in on Seth. He cashes on Kofi and takes the belt from Kofi.
I think that's great. I think that would work great. I would like to see them get to the point where they force him to cash in. And Stephanie's going to punish him and make him cash that thing in. Well, okay, then you got more drama and storyline. So he'll never be a face. Okay, face it. Lesnar will never be a face.
Well, he could be, and he was. Honestly, they were saying he wasn't, but he was. But people try to say that he wasn't up until he got shoved down their throats and didn't deserve to be a champion. He was a part-time champion. That's when stuff went sideways. But because it's all about numbers. It's a numbers game. I mean, it's and clearly this week we found out. Guess who draws? Undertaker and Brock do draw.
Well, they put the moment they put Brock back on TV, the numbers went up.
Well, I mean, and he's been there regularly, so last week was down. This week they thought Brock hadn't wrestled on Raw or on television, I think, since 2004. So everybody was like, "Oh shit, now we're on," So the numbers spiked. He's a draw. So, but speaking of numbers spiking, let's take a side tour here real quick from the WWE, the main roster product. I did want to talk about something. We were heading down this road this Friday night. Up at Marietta Road, excuse me, easy for me to say. Canton, Georgia, up at the Action Building. Southern Honor returns. The reason why we're talking about attendance, of course, last month was the big 1,000 people show.
Ooh.
So this is their first show since.
Yes.
So Gary Lamb out there promoting, doing what he does best. But before we get there, I want to ask you, so what's a successful night, do you think?
That's going to be a big deal. What is successful? 500 to me is successful. 700 would be phenomenal. I mean, if they had 700 people come out, that's insane. Okay? You're automatically throwing up the third biggest number in Georgia in forever.
See, but I'm on the other fence. I think even 400, 300, 400 is a successful night. But, because we always have heard summertime in Georgia, business is down. Shindig's the exception, because it's their WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's a once-a-year thing.
Yeah. All roads lead to Shindig, right? But so where do we follow up with Southern Honor? I think 400's a good number. If they hit there, that's pretty good. I mean, think about this, months ago when they started, if you told them they were hitting 400 people this far into the thing, I think they would have been happy.
Yeah.
Man, let's be blunt. We know they would be happy. There was a conversation involved with Gary. So we know, but what I'm saying by this is you're doing a normal show where this is kind of return to normalcy is what it's in my notes. We're going to have AC Mack and Alan Angel, by the way, beg to differ. There are more matches on this card that could
More
be.
than a 3-match card, in your opinion?
No. And I don't mean that negatively. There's a match on this card that I think will absolutely tear the house down, but I don't know that the people yet are paying for that match. Owen Knight and Joe Black.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see Joe Black's promo?
Kudos, Joe. Kudos, Joe. That was a legitimate feeling promo. And that's emotion. It was, you believed it. I'm not saying it isn't true. I'm just saying you made me believe what you were saying. That's like, oh, I want to go see the show. I want to see that now. I want to see that.
Okay, that promo, and so I don't throw out this type of compliment as much as you do, because I know, but I'm going to say this bluntly. That promo almost turned it into, and it may have in my mind, a 4-match card. That was the one that was hung up on there. Going prior to that promo, I was saying, AC Mack versus Alan Angels for the Southern Honor title. That's your draw. I mean, that storyline's been rolling for months. That's a draw. Fear, Sunny Days, Logan Creed versus Brady Pierce and Corey Hollis. Hell of a story that's running right now with that group.
Yeah, I'm looking at the card, folks.
I've got it all jotted down. I made sure I wrote down the whole card. And then the third match that everybody just was stunned that I said to me is the third match on the third draw is Danny Jordan and Lindsay Snow.
Yeah.
Another hell of a promo by Danny Jordan.
They've built to this. They cut the promos for this. They set this up. And it's, keeping Danny off that big show it had the desired effect. She's hated.
No one has done, to me, the new era group that they put together there, she's probably one of the most hated. No, I'm gonna back up. She is probably the most hated heel in the promotion.
Yeah.
And she makes it easy not to like her.
And she works that. She really does work that. Love it.
Absolutely. I think, as far as the rest of the card goes, like I said, Owen Knight and Joe Black have the potential to steal the show. And that Joe is a stud in the making. Period. David Ali, Lee Johnson versus Kevin Ryan and Jordan Kingsley, going to be super athletic match with tons of shit going on. Sean Legacy and John Skyler is going to be one of the most sound matches probably that we've seen in a long time. Yeah. I've seen both of these guys work. Both are very good.
That's your work rate match.
It's your work rate match. There you go. See, we
satisfied with that.
Yep. And then the attraction on the card is Ashton Starr versus Effie.
Yeah. That's an epic match. That's two guys whose gimmicks are similar, incredibly flamboyant. I think it'll be a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah.
And they both can wrestle. Apparently, Lee Johnson and Ashton Starr was the highlight of that big show in Rome last week. What everybody's saying.
You know what? I disagree. The highlight of that, I saw some video footage. Frankie Paris involved in a match, and the star would be one. I don't know if you've ever seen his hashtag Air Paris, but the Air is HEIR Paris.
Oh, cool.
And that's Little Perry. I mean, she so.
Oh, that kid's got big personality, man. That kid is awesome.
So,
I mean, if she doesn't go into wrestling, she's going to go into something like that.
Yeah, and if Frankie's listening, by the way, dude has cut himself into phenomenal shape.
Oh, hell, he's older. He's an old man. Well, he's probably not as old as we are.
He's not older than us. But, dude.
He's looking so good.
Dad bod dead. I mean, he's cut, ripped. I teased him the last time I talked to him that I was like, hey, so when are you going to be back in the ring? And I was like, oh, it's not. No. Yeah, okay. Lie to me like that. But anyway, back to Southern Honor. It's like I said, the return to normalcy. This is this is storytelling time mode for Southern Honor. Dylan's done a great job with some booking stuff. I think that, by the way, Dylan, Nathan, and the production team
Yeah.
Those promos across the board. Alan Angels was really good. AC Mack, but like I said, the Joe Black one was phenomenal. And so, but
They
those
know
guys
what they're
are
doing.
they know what they're doing. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. They're groundbreaking in Georgia. I know that there's other like AEW doing stuff like this and focusing with social media. Groundbreaking. They've got Southern Fried trying and doing it, and they've got a lot of other people working on this stuff. It's great. I love the backstage segment at Southern Fried. You know, they don't have a performance laboratory like they do at AEW where they can make these super high quality hype videos. But they're doing a really good job. They're drawing people in. They're thinking outside the box and they're promoting for your social media audience, which brings in people.
Well,
You know,
Myron, it's the same effect as everybody's talking about AEW with WWE and so on and so forth. I think Southern Honors production level and the stuff they've been doing has pushed all the
everyone.
other promotions to do
Mhm.
better, and you're seeing more of this, the Facebook, videos, the promos and stuff, trying to get more
The
attention.
posters, just the posters in Georgia
Yeah,
have improved dramatically. Now, there's still a lot of bad ones, but the people who are serious wrestling promotions, their posters have increased in quality dramatically since they've come out.
yeah. So, but now
Because you
we've,
got to. You got to
yeah,
put out
you
a good
have
poster
to.
if you're going to compete with these guys.
Well, the big thing too, though, like I said, from story we've talked about is storytelling, and no one, in Georgia has done it better for the past year, right? Or well, 18 months or 17 months at
Mm-hmm.
this point. Than Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. We've
Yeah.
mentioned Shindig a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Shindig 6, easy for me to say,
Yes.
was this past weekend. Lots of stuff went
Easily
on.
the number 2 highest drawing show in Georgia recent history in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
For It was a great show.
it
It
was
was
a great show.
a long show.
Very long show. We discussed it with Larry Goodman, and full disclosure, as we jokingly say, right? I told Manders, David Manders, promoter for Southern Fried. I said it was a little long. I told Todd the same thing. So it was not like we're going behind him and like, oh well, this is what we're saying. No, we told him, look, the show was good, but it was too long. Being just full fair. Now the stuff that did happen was done really well.
Yeah.
Um,
The crowd got so hot they set the fire alarm off twice.
that is true. Um, what they were hot for, because we come back. There was again, it's a 3 match card. All the other things were setting up something in the future, which is what you're supposed to do. Number one, Jacob Ashworth has his crowning moment as the Southern Fried Champion. All of the babyface locker room empties out, kind of pushes Hollis back and chases him back into the ring so he can't run and get away. And we have Jacob Ashworth crowned as the new champion.
This was an anointing of Jacob
Very
Ashworth, and they set it up perfectly.
new belt.
New belt. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So, but we knew that's been, like I said, they've been building to this moment for months.
Unfortunately, a lot of people had left because the main event did not go on till 3 hours and 20 minutes into the main show. So,
But yeah, a lot of people did miss it. And honestly, I will tell you, I think some of that, I think there was a crowd there that, as great as that moment was being built to, a lot of people were Drew Blood versus Xander Ramon, dog collar match, loser leave town. I think there was a big part of that crowd that was there for that. I think that's some of the people that they
Brock
lost.
and David Manders, the owner, handcuffed together. Yeah, that's an old-fashioned heat match, and I think a lot of people were there just to see that, and I don't blame them. That was terrific. They hit every dog collar spot you can hit. They hit all the what you have to do that kind of match. It was drama, and then Drew retired. Drew, my favorite wrestler, retired. Okay, I got to find a new favorite wrestler. Right now, the leader is Damon Bennett, but guys, seriously, this man has mentored and helped and been the best performer in Georgia for so long. This guy, Drew Blood, is incredible. Thank you for what you've done for us as a fan. You were there the first time I went to a Southern Fried show. You got us that night. That first time I saw you perform, you just stuck the deal, and it was awesome. And I've enjoyed everything you've done since then. Thank you, sir, for your work.
it's cool for him to go out, like I said, his way. They gave you the Austin moment, essentially, the Steve Austin moment where he didn't tap, he passes out, which was kind of cool. The other moment of the night, Todd Sexton finally defeats the Approved, gets his wife back, keeps his job as as controlling booker for Southern Fried, and that got the response.
Oh, there's a big pop for that. But
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't like the match did not like, it wasn't like the crowd wasn't super hot the whole time. They built that. The crowd was kind of dead, and then they built that heat and built that heat and built that heat, and they turned it into something special, and you felt personal about it, and it building was crazy, awesome.
Well,
That's old fashioned stuff, right
that
there.
goes back to what we were saying, that those storylines were the ones that everybody had been waiting on.
Hmm.
So when they got the payoffs for those, boom, you got the reactions.
Yeah. Todd could have booked in Memphis. Todd could have booked in Memphis in the heyday. He could have like rotated with Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett. That's what I think about him as a booker. He's that good.
Todd's a very solid booker. I think Georgia right now is in a great heyday
Mhm.
for booking in general, with Dylan up at Southern Honor, Todd down at Southern Fried. Who's doing Anarchy now?
Todd and Bill.
Todd and Bill Barons. Okay.
Mhm.
And then, obviously, anyway, so let's, the hot topic, of course, coming out of Shindig. We're going to address it. Why not? It's what we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't.
Mhm.
So a topic came up this week. Stephen Platinum addressed, indie wrestling attendance, and the wrestling numbers, etc., and so forth. Um, First of all, I like to say there's attendance numbers. There's paid, and then there's attendance. Two different numbers clearly when it comes to pro wrestling. We discussed, there's comp tickets, there's so forth,
Yeah.
whatever.
To me, really, the only number that matters is what Larry Goodman reports, because that's what's going to go on Georgia Wrestling History, which is the Georgia Wrestling History, like history keeping website where they actually keep up with that stuff, and there's records, and it's the official post. If it goes up there, to me, that's the number.
My
And
right, and I know what you're saying, but here's the problem. And it's not, we're not picking on Southern Fried. There was this history with Viral Pro not too long ago where there was a question about attendance, and then there's always just, even at the 1,000 show, the Southern Honor show, everybody was like, well, I don't know if it was 1,000. It was. I'm just telling you, I was there, so
well, I mean, I also was actually sitting near the gate for some time, and I went and talked to the ticket takers there, and I verified and I watched what everything was going on. They counted the wristbands in front of me, so I can verify that number. I did not try to verify Southern Fried's number. I was talking to you and Gary. They had two ticket lines for prepaid seats and or for pre-order seats and for just non pre-ordered seats, and it was a lot going on. It was an intense experience, folks. There's people everywhere. Okay, there's all kind of, because you can see the crowd. So if the lights don't go out, the lights were out at Gary's show. You were focused on the ring. So in front you can see all the people moving around. So it's a lot. And then they had the Hall of Fame ceremony. By the time it was all over, I really wasn't trying to count the people. So I can't verify any numbers. I really believe the 842 number.
it may be accurate. But here's my thing: first of all, do indie promoters pad the numbers? Yes,
Yeah.
of course they do. You know, Platinum said, there's the 10% fudge factor. So if you have 800 people, you could report 880 because you couldn't tell the difference between 800 and 880. True.
Well, yeah, there's
If you had
people in the
100 and you said
people at the
110,
stands, people at the gimmick tables.
bathrooms, just
Yeah.
blah blah blah, so forth, so on. The question I'm asking you now is, one, is these people that are going, that are reporting these numbers, if you're there, and I'm including us into this, by the way, because
Mhm.
we have both written reviews for Georgia Wrestling History for Larry Goodman. We've talked to him. He's asked us to do them from time to time, and we've had. Um, Maybe it's time we stop taking the promoter's word for it. Maybe it's time we actually count the chairs, or they count the chairs, whoever's there. I know it's hard, but if you're going to do it, I mean, you know, I think at some point you kind of have to do the work yourself. And I can count I'm not telling you what my number was because I've had it off air.
I couldn't see a lot of the from where we were sitting. I did not walk around, and I did not check all the seats. Like I usually walk when I'm in a venue. I usually walk so I can see where all the seats are when I come in. I didn't do that. I was occupied, chit chatting and doing stuff.
It's also easier when it's all rows of chairs. There's not lawn chairs involved in bleacher.
Yeah.
It's a little more. It's easier to do, and that's typically what I do when I walk into a wrestling show. I usually look like how many rows per chairs. By the way, I was kind of a math guy, back in the day.
Well, you're a numbers guy.
I'm a numbers guy. Still am. I was kidding. Yeah. I count how many chairs are per row. I count how many rows you have. It's called multiplication, guys. 20 chairs, 5 rows, 100. Boom. I'm done. And then I look on the other side. Same thing. 3 rows, 20 chairs, 60. And I basically give me a rough estimate. Look, could I be off if it was 600 chairs in the building and that was 650? Okay, I could be wrong. But at some point, I'm not going to be 200 off.
My take on the whole thing is why? I mean, why are we picking nits about this? I mean, there was a lot of people there. I mean, it's a bragging rights thing, if anything else.
Bingo. That's why. I think and again, it's not. This isn't a dig at Shindig. This is not a viral pro. This is not Southern Honor. This is, if you want to impress me, I'll put a challenge out, and this goes beyond Platinum. Platinum wants seats and he wants attendance. You want to impress me? Give me your gate.
No. Nobody's going to give a gate. It's not going to happen. You'll never see a gate in Georgia wrestling unless it's regulated. Like in New York or something, in the old days when they reported gates because they had to turn the gates into the state athletic commission, you'll never see another gate. And not until it's regulated. And I don't want to see it regulated like that because it's wrestling.
You know why? I don't want to see it regulated like that, but I want somebody to have the balls to tell me we drew 600 people and our gate was $3,000. I'm like, wait, that math don't add.
I don't want to know gates. When Vince exposed the business and said it was entertainment, to me, that's when stuff like that became.
But you know what? We drill it. If you've listened to Something to Wrestle, if you've listened to 83 Weeks, we hear attendance numbers, paid, comp, gate. They're hung up on. They still do it to this day because that's what the stockholders care.
I've looked at a lot of Cornette. He can tell you a gate of every show he ever ran.
And that's my thing. You want to impress me, don't worry about dodging and I'm not saying anybody particularly because I don't know who they are, and I'm not saying anybody that we know would. Stop. If you're trying to dodge the taxes on claiming what your gate was, that's a different argument. But tell me up front, I want to know your gate. I want to know your attendance together because that's where the math would drive. I'm a math guy. If it's a business to you, give me your gate. People go, don't have to anymore. Doesn't matter. That to me, that's what you should be proud of. How many people you pack in? Because remember back in the day when they had the Rumble, one of the early Rumbles, I think was in the Superdome, or not? I'm not in Superdome, and in San Antonio, in the Alamo Dome.
Yeah,
they papered the shit out of that building.
Yeah, but they had to fill it up.
You had to fill it up, make it look good. Okay, you want me to tell you something? If I papered a show for free, and I could put on a wrestling show, and I could pack 1,000 people in there, but I papered the hell out of that building, is that impressive as a businessman or no?
Depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to make it look good, it's impressive. It shows that you can go out there and get people into your building.
Yeah, but I'm not Impact at Universal Studios trying to give tickets away just to fill up a crowd. My object is if I'm running a wrestling show, especially an indie show, I'm trying to make money. So don't impress me with numbers. Impress me with dollars.
I don't want to know dollars. I never want to know dollars. I'm this is going to be like the Bruce Pritchard thing where I'm not going to give you a real dollar number on stuff. It's not important to me. You know, I can take the gates that I see. Now I really do believe. I trust David, and I also can believe it based on the way the layout is. I know Dr. Brock gave me a very similar number around the 840 range, so I'm good with it.
Well, here's the thing. This wasn't a shot at Shindig. Like I said, this was indie promotions across the board. Oh, we drew 250. Yeah. We drew 300. Okay, what was your gate? Oh, I don't know. What kind of businessman are you? Did you don't know how much money you walked out at?
The people that ran that show in Rome, they ran that show. What is it? 3,000 seat. We've been in that before.
Oh yeah, it's 3,500 people. They drew 250.
You know, even the big show up there was not that huge a draw.
It was 1,000. I think it was over 1,000.
You think so?
It was a super show, so they don't. Long story, but yeah, that's why they.
I don't even think it was that many people.
Maybe, who knows?
Now I know there were that many people that came into the autograph signing and stuff, but I think the majority of the people that came to the signings didn't go to the show.
But that could be true. But see, that was the thing. It was a package ticket. Remember, you got a ticket included. So if you bought a ticket, then it counted. So that's why they got the 1,000, I believe.
Okay, I can believe that then totally.
So
I can believe the whole thing had an attendance of 1,000.
Yes. So they sold 1,000 tickets, which included a ticket to the event, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. So but see, my argument to that is apparently that yes, I mean he's saying he lost his shirt on that show. I mean, with the people he brought in, the talent he brought in, he rented that big building, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? That was a failed show. Sorry, you drew 250. That's awesome. But when you lost that kind of money, it's not good.
Yeah. But the problem is super shows for it's like that's all you're doing. You're just coming in and doing a one-off, and you're drawing based on the people on the poster. You're not drawing based on storylines. Those shows will never be. That it's not a sustainable business model. You know, you'll never be able to pull that off. Occasionally, you'll hit in the right market and be in the right place, and make a lot of money. But you're never going to be in a full-time business doing shows like that.
Well, and that's my argument too. Drawing a big crowd is awesome. Making money is what you're trying to do. So don't get hung up on drawing a big number, and especially when I made a comment about it. Don't, like with the Viral Pro thing, Platinum hung his hat on. You clearly could tell not that many people were in that building. There's video now, guys. There's people recording matches.
Yeah.
Don't lie about your numbers. It's going to come out that that's not accurate. This is the day of the internet. It's not a good sign to fudge a number. But anywho, let's don't hang our hats on that. Let's big show again. We're talking about Southern Honors coming up this weekend. Got a ton of stuff. Hey, are we going to go to Barnesville? Are we going to try to make
I really want to. I have not cleared that with the family yet.
Gotcha. Me neither.
Right now, it's still what I want to go because I really want to. I really would like to see Ron Fuller again. I really want to get my my autograph picture I can have for my wall because Ron was very important to my wrestling childhood, and he's been very important to us as podcasters. So I would like to talk to him and see him again.
Yeah, but hey, man, let us know what you got going on. If you had any questions, comments, or whatever, we're going to wrap up and get out of here. You can always follow us at Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. And, of course, if you want to find us at our website, it's tappedoutpod.com. And, of course, if you're looking for us on a podcast player, Apple Podcast seems to be the biggest one that we always have. But people are surprised. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify. We are on Google Play. Everywhere that you're looking for, for podcasts, we're there. And you got it.
Fans.
If that little blue thing that Myron's holding in his hand, which you cannot see if you're listening to the podcast, it's called a Roku stick. I can actually read it now. It's a Roku stick. If you just plug it into your television, free streaming service, Jarrett Parsons Wrestling Television. Lots of old school content from old Continental, Memphis, Portland, everywhere over. Some great content. They just had a Ric Flair special that they just did. Of course, and then of course, as Myron likes to say, who are we next to?
Right past Bill Apter is the Tap Out Wrestling Podcast. Look, go in there and you can see our live episodes just like we're doing right now.
That's exactly it. You can find old episodes. You can find some the new ones that we put up every week. They drop them around Friday, depending on loading. There's some little, schedules how that work. But hey, if you don't want to wait, you can always become a Patreon member at patreon.com/tapped-out-pod. You get everything first, and you get everything.
Yep.
So you can become a member as little as $1. The higher you pay, the better cool stuff you get. Even you could become a guest on the show.
Yes.
So head on over to patreon.com/tapped-out-pod. And last but not least, if you like the gear like Myron's got on right now, I'd tap that T. And of course, mine is the Wrestling is Like Women. You don't have to understand it to love it. Head over to prowrestlingtees.com/tapped-out wrestling podcast.
Purveyor of the finest t-shirts and, probably the finest t-shirts in the land.
I would agree with you there.
Good quality stuff.
But check it all out. Support the show any way you can. You can find us, man. If you hunt us down, this weekend we'll be at Southern Honor Wrestling for sure on Friday. We won't be watching the Super Showdown. We'll be up in Southern Honor wrestling, watching that
Well,
show.
I don't. If I got a choice between watching a live show or going to a live show or watching something on TV, I'm gonna go to the live show.
I agree with you.
It's more, it's more entertaining for me.
I agree with you 100%. But, well, man, you got any notes over there that I missed and highlighted
No,
over?
I think we've hit everything. I think there were a couple of little things. Mickey James is injured. I hope she gets better because she's one of my favorites. But besides that, I think it's all I got.
Well, man, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
It's time to tap out.